Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of this little series that we're running. Okay, so I was waiting before recording this to have the refer a friend bonus activated so that I could kind of talk you through that. It took a little bit longer to email customer services and stuff like that with the code again and a wee bit messing about, but yeah, we got there in the end. So we got the £10, pardon me, referral code through. So um, this new account's getting a nice wee bonus £10 on top of the £50 we've deposited when opening, okay? And what we did with that £10, as I'll show you in a second in the transactions, is we just went and bought one more of everything that we had, just as a bonus, okay? And then with the remaining money, I was going to be doing an episode today, or now, talking about let's go and have some fun. Let's go buy some players now. Let's go buy something that we can get excited about, and then talking about the future as we move on in that respect, okay? But some kind of news happened between the recording of episodes, okay? We had Luka Jovic confirmed signing for Real Madrid, and then off the back of that, we then also had another story for somebody who was in our watch list, okay? It wasn't a massive story in terms of the media buzz or whatever that came off the back of it, um, but it was something that made me think, this is the time to buy now, okay? Um, Sorry, I'm spelling names wrong and stuff. There he's there. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Technology. I'll just show him in here. I'm not going to be able to see the news but in the website the way I wanted it to, but we went and spent the rest of our balance basically on Ferland Mendy. We also, I think, did we pick up Declan Rice between episodes? I think we might have, do you know that? I think we picked up some Declan Rice with the... Let me look at the transactions. I think I might have had Declan Rice last episode, but I'll just show you the transactions. Like so. Bonus goes in, one of each, yeah, including Declan Rice. Yes, we must have had Declan Rice in the last episode. Sorry, guys. Brain fart there from me. And then we went and spent the rest of it on Ferland Mendy, okay, who has also been linked today with a move to Real Madrid. Now, Ferland Mendy is definitely one of the prospects coming out of Lyon that is likely to sell. I've got a video, I'll link it in the description below, where I talk about the Lyon debacle that's happened. You might not have noticed or known about it, but there was a bit of a training ground bust up between four players, and three of them certainly are candidates to be leaving this season. Ferland Mendy being one. Now the thing about Ferland Mendy is he's a left back, he can play centre mid, he's very well thought of in Europe, and when they got to the Champions League knockout rounds against Barcelona, the run that got them there, he was definitely credited with some of that success in terms of the work rate and everything else he puts in. So that's why he was in the watch list, and if you watch the last couple of episodes, you'll see that before the news broke. And then, as I said, the stars aligned, and I thought, I need to buy someday. I've been watching this guy, and there's a little bit of news, and his price hadn't moved too much. He went from 88 pence before I could get to him. It went to 90 pence. We've been watching him a wee bit cheaper. So had I pushed the button on a little bit quicker, or caught the news a little bit sharper, then that 2 pence movement straight away off a tiny little bit of news would have got us past the commission barrier, okay? Now, when you're buying players, the first four we spoke about, they're all what we call the safe core, right? But when you start to venture on beyond your safe core and you start to pick up other players, the first thing you've got to identify is the commission barrier and how quickly can you get past that, okay? Because that is your first barrier to profit, is getting over that first 2%, okay? Now, me, as you scale it up, it is an accurate 2%. It is pretty much always an accurate 2%, don't get me wrong. But when it's fractions of pennies and when you're trading smaller amounts like me and probably you are, they round up more often than not, okay? So for Ferland Mendy, 2 pence in my head is the commission. It is technically 1.8 pence, but depending on the scale that you're working with, it's going to be 2 pence, okay, when you're selling players. So having that done and dusted, if we could have had that done and dusted nice and quickly, then we would have been really happy. And it goes the same for the rest of the holds. That's why our more expensive hold, Sancho, we're not dying to put all of our money into the biggest hold straight away and kill our portfolio, because getting over that commission barrier is going to be more difficult for somebody who's £5, okay? So that means we basically need to get 11 pence on Sancho to get to that commission barrier, okay? Whereas with these other players, you're talking about 3 and 4 pence, 2 pence, whatever, okay? So that's a lot more achievable. And as you can see with Mason Mount and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, you know, that's the first thing we want to get past is that 2%, okay? So when you go out and you start buying players to top on, to build in on top of your safe core. It's the first thing you've got to identify. Where are you shopping? What price are they in? What does 2% equal? Okay. Now the very easy way to do it, see if you're not great at maths, okay, I'm okay, I like to think, and if you more watch the videos you'll see how true that may or may not be. But if you're buying somebody at £1.20 and you're thinking, right, what do I need to get them to before I can make profit? You just times them by 1.02, okay, and then you see right there, I need to sell them for £1.22.4 pence, okay. So we'll call it 123. Okay, so need to rise by 3 pence a share before we can call it profit. Then onwards, okay. And again, so on and so forth. But 1.12, and then when you're looking to sell players, okay, so let's say you're selling somebody for £1.20. Like, let's say you get 10 of them, times it by 0.98 because you remove 2% off of what you're selling, so you'll be left with 11.76. Okay. Now the one thing you need to know on top of this refer a friend scheme, okay, is the terms and conditions around it. Okay. Now I'm not going to walk you through every paragraph of it. It is relatively straightforward, except for this point A here. Okay, this is what you need to understand. Okay, so the bonus is subject to a 20 times playthrough requirement. Okay, which means you need to buy £200 worth of futures before you can withdraw that, okay, with ease, certainly, okay. And as it explains in all the rules here, you know, any sort of purchase counts. It doesn't need to be you rolling the, it's not like some of these free bet offers you get with like different bookmakers where, oh, we'll give you £10 free bet, but you need to wager it 3 times before you can withdraw it. Those things are kind of dying out, don't get me wrong, but they definitely still exist, and it's like welcome bonuses normally. You know, like, oh yeah, we'll give you a welcome bonus of this, but you need to play through 3 times or on odds of 1.5 or greater. So theirs isn't really that generous in that respect, but if you're going to be depositing £200 anyway in the life cycle of your Football Index account, then it's not really even an issue, is it? Okay, but it's just, that's one thing you do need to be clear about. Okay, is you need to buy £200 worth before you can start to make withdrawals with ease. Okay, with having customer service, you know, checking your transactions and you having to talk to them and sort things out. Which I'm not saying isn't it's hard. It can be either. It just depends on who you get. It's like any customer service related job, you know, if you're dealing with somebody who's having a good day and they're on the ball and whatever. I mean good day work wise, you know, not emotionally or anything. Anyway, I digress, okay. So with the commission barrier to one side, you need to identify where is your growth going to come from, okay. Now there's 2 types of growth in the index as I would see it, okay. You've got what I would call organic growth, and we kind of touched on that in the previous video, but as the platform grows, players will become more expensive. That is just a fact of it, okay. It might not be every player, but it will be congregated in certain areas. You know, the most expensive players like Neymar, Hazard, you know, these types of guys, Sterling, Messi, they always do well when the market grows because they are so safe. For it to grow, it's a lot of money coming onto the table. You've got to understand, when you're playing for a lot of money, you go as safe as possible. So it's not as if the market cap, you're not going to see it jump up like 1,000 points in a day, which can happen, okay. And it's going to be all your 20 pence players have all became 50 pence. What you're going to see is your players that are like, let's just find somebody. Come on. Players like Harry Kane, 485 might go to £5.20 along with 2 or 3 other players, and then you'll see some other movement elsewhere that will probably be relatively significant, but you understand the point I'm getting at. So organic growth, okay. Then active growth, okay. Now active growth is on the back of a real world event, a news story's broken, an injury's happened, a transfers went through, something controversial's happened with an official, or you know, it could be anything. Pogba's got a new dance on Instagram, you know, you name it. Goals, assists, performances, all that stuff. Active growth, okay. So do I anticipate the actual player in question contributing to the growth, okay. And then that's how you're going to judge your timescales, okay. So for the now, active growth is going to be really circulated only around media transfers, okay, because the games are very limited, almost down to 0, okay. We've got limited games left of the season, and that's got to also make up part of your strategy, okay, which is why with the portfolio as we stand at now, you'll see the moves as they happen, okay, but we're going to be manoeuvring it in a couple of different ways throughout the time that we run this series for, and it's just to show you how to get your portfolio off the ground, okay. So organic growth, active growth, coupled with what we were chatting about in the last episode with pre-established ceilings, which is the highest point the player has ever been to previously, okay. Now this has been readjusted for post-split. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. It's a headache you don't need, right, if you're new to the game. But all these are accurate to the penny for the last, you know, you can see for the last year. Okay, so a pre-established ceiling is the point I've got to before. So we're looking at Lacazette now for some random reason, and you can see the big blue candlestick, that's what you call these lines, kind of left of centre of the screen. It gets past the 1.4 mark, the £1.40. So we can safely say his ceiling is £1.40. Okay, you could even go even safer and say it's £1.30, because a candlestick is a very short term, or over a short time scale, the price has moved up and down, you know, because of an event, the goal scored, whatever, people will then quick sell and release money, whatever. So him sitting at 133 now, he's at a safe ceiling that he's been to previously, but he does have history for going beyond it. And again, when his ceiling was set, we're talking about it being November last year, so the market, I'm not going out in too much for a limb to say that it's doubled since then. So what that tells you is there was enough people who were happy to support Lacazette on Football Index because of his potential to get him to the price of £1.40, when there was an estimate most people would go on board with half the size of what it is currently. Okay, so that's why you can see some just organic growth him returning to this price here, because there's double the size now, you know, and with him get a Europa League final on the cards, a potential Barcelona link, and you can see some news here, whatever, then people are slowly starting to get on board. But with there being twice the amount of money on the table, the likelihood of him breaking through that barrier of £1.40 is very high. So then any profit margins you're willing to calculate, you then have a worst case scenario of next time he pops, he scores a goal in the final, a few more news stories come out, you know £1.40 is achievable, because at that point last October none of these things were possible. You know, he wasn't in the Europa League final, was not being linked to Arsenal, etc, etc. Okay, and that's going to help judge, with everything else we spoke about, who you buy and when you buy. Okay, so to come back to Ferland Mendy, we're aware of the whole situation around him. I've got the fortunate experience, been on the index for a while. He was in our watch list where we're going to be keeping an eye on him, and he was going to be a topic of conversation anyway, potentially, for a purchase. Something's happened, we've had loose capital in the account, and we've just went and bought him because we knew we'd buy him anyway. Okay, and that is buying, guys. That is now buying. Just the core is done, we're now buying players, we're now building the portfolio. Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you found this useful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Ta-ra.